This is day 371 of the Arukh HaShulchan Yomi. If you'd like to sponsor upcoming shir or more of the Arukh HaShulchan Yomi, please contact me directly. It would be very greatly appreciated. Today we're doing Siman Reish Nun Hey, Steve Gimel, through Siman Reish Nun Zayin, Steve Dalet. Okay, moving a little bit today. So, Steve Gimel. Talking about preparing fire before Shabbos. We talked about bonfires yesterday. Gimel, or if we're dealing with coals as opposed to wood, even if the fire did not take hold of the coals just a little bit, mutats mitzvah nation dokim hochim, because they can go burn onwards without any assistance. Hakal Shana. Ram does not mention this leniency. Uva Mishnah so per kama. Yes, the Plukta. The Mishnah, the first parak, there is a machlekes. The Chachamim did not mention this distinction, this leniency by coals. Only Rabbi Yehuda is one who says so. By coals, even a little bit of fire is sufficient. They asked on the tour how do you paskin like an individual Rabbi Yehuda against the Rabbanan. Those who say that Rabbi Yehuda comes to explain Rabbanan. It's difficult to say this. That seems to be the case normally only when we say those lashonos which indicate that this is an explanation. But the Yerushalmi clearly indicates levels like Rabbi Yehuda. So by Pchamim Koshu. Now, Medura Shel Zefel Vishel Gofris, a bonfire made of pitch and gofris. Gofris normally means sulfur, but evidently not here. The Arukh HaShulchan says in brackets near Lidahainu Eitzim Mezufafim Gafrisin. In other words, both the Zefes and the gofris here are not the normal terms, but they're talking about wood which is coated either with pitch or with sulfur. Shakash Gvava, or of straw and twigs. I feel lochas b'emur, even the fire did not seize hold of them. El koshu, only a small amount. Mutzah are permissible as well. They also burn on their own. The chem medur shel kind of documents. So to a bonfire of thin reeds. Shagarine tmorim, and also of pits of dates. Shem uvuzarm when they're scattered. And the kind of gudos, but if the twigs are bundled together, Vagarinim basal, and the pits are in a basket, and so the density makes it not so easy to light. But in that case, flame has to rise on its own, like as before said by all wood. That's according to their version of Gemara. Our guess is a rush, but to Russian towards the opposite. The Geshem Mefuzachim, when they're scattered, the flame has to be able to rise on its own. If they're close together, even if it's a little bit was seized by fire, that's sufficient. A bonfire which is made of thin pieces of wood. You're allowed to remove those twigs as long as they're not on fire. And this will also be true on Shabbos. Of course, you may know it's in muktzim if the word is not considered muktzim. Brackets. Excuse me. You have a long fuse. And you light a distance with the fuse until it reaches the wood. As long as the fuse has not gone to wood itself, you can take from the wood on Yontav Shabbos when the wood is not muktzah. The Chasim Sofer brings down that by his Rebbe Rav Nosson Adler, and this is a matter of controversy, but he brings it down that the way they made the coffee Shabbos morning is by having a long wick, which was like a fuse, which only ignited the wood under the coffee pot Shabbos morning, and then the coffee would percolate. Okay, again, whether we can do that with a Shabbos lock or not, it's a big issue in the poskim. Reish Nun Vav, Sheish Tkios, so you're talking about Erev Shabbos. There were 6 shofar blasts on Erev Shabbos. Arukh HaShulchan, when Am Yisrael was in its proper place, so you're talking Sheish Tkios Erev Shabbos, Achar Chatzos. They would blow 6 shofar blasts on Erev Shabbos after noon. But Lav Dafka Tkiya doesn't mean specifically a Tkiya. The Tkiya call can be any sound. The Kachali token, this is how they used to do it. Tkiya, true Tkiya. True Tkiya, true Tkiya. In fact, they did it the way we do it by Shofar Rosh Hashanah. Tkiya, true Tkiya twice. But Tkiya Sa'ila used Simonim, and these Tkiyas were assigned Lachonas Shabbos to focus on preparing for Shabbos. Kimoshi's bar, as we shall explain. That's the Rambam Parakeh, Gam Motzei Shabbos, he was talking to Ka'achas. When Rambam also at the end of Shabbos, they blew one blast. Achar says the Kochamim after nightfall, to let people know they can do Malacha. Chokol of Ramban for Rashba, Ramban and Rashba argue that Tkiya Ein Ala Lachnos Shabbos is a form of warning. You'd see also when you don't really need warning. Base, Kates and say the Tkiyos, how do these Tkiyos work? Because Rambam Shom, Rambam says, you would make you blow the shofar at a high place. There's Shemil Chol here, so everybody in the city can hear about Chol here and behind the city as well. The first Kiyah Achar Mincha Gedolah was after Mincha, I mean, at Equinox Day, 12:30 p.m. With Kiyah, and at that time, people in the field start refraining from plowing and hoeing, and doing any malach in the fields. The people who are closer to the city, however, now have to come into the city until the friends are further away here, because of Ke'achas, and everybody comes in together, so nobody should suspect that somebody else was late out in the fields. The second Kiyah you're talking was Mincha Ketana. The blood time Mincha Ketana, that's 2.5 hours, because they are before nightfall. And then Nolim Achanrios. They would lock the doors of the stores. By Melach and the crafts in the city would desist from the craft. And then at some point later they blow a third kiyah. Then they remove the pots from the ovens if they were ready to eat that night. When they insulated they insulated with the pots which are prepared for tomorrow, so you retain their heat. And they lit the candles. It says Dakota. And there's a short wait amount of time it takes to roast a small fish. And then they blow 3 tkiyos to Hainu Tkiyo True Tkiya. At this point, 3 of them together. Makam Shabbos and Makam Shabbos. But the person who blew puts the shofar down in the place where he blew in a safe spot. The shouldn't take it into his house. He blew Shabbos because he's ready to accept the Shabbos. I don't know why the Rambam left. Excuse me. I don't know. Sorry. I don't know why Rambam left out the following, which is in the Gemara. Erev Shabbos, and Yontif comes out on Erev Shabbos. Nevertheless, they would blow shofar. The Kedusha Shabbos Chamer, because the Kedusha Shabbos is more severe. Says the first 2 tkiyos, which were to desist from malacha, obviously not be done if Erev Shabbos was Yontif. Should be Yontif ain't no malacha. There's no malacha, also there's no commercial activity. Motzei Shabbos Tokim, Avil Chal Yontif B'Yom Rishon, and Motzei Shabbos there was no shofar, even if the next day was Yontif. The 8th kiyah Mokum Shenichneses Kedusha Chamor. They only make a blow when a more severe Kedusha is coming in. There is a custom in the holy communities. an hour before Shabbos. Machlis the Shlech Tzibur announces Lachin Atzmon l'Shabbos. Everybody should prepare themselves for Shabbos. V'makam Hakiyos Mim, and this takes the place of the shofar blast which they had in their day and age. Chen Roy Lin Hog, and that's the appropriate mode of behavior. Now that also is not possible. So Arukh HaShulchan, of course, did not live in Eretz Yisrael or Monsey, where there are alarms which go off. But that's at the time of Halakas Neiros. They don't go off starting at 12:30. What do we do? Ish Miyuchad, the Garish Mi'ashuk V'Chanios, sends already the person to kick the people out of the marketplace and the stores. Yesh said, Godel HaMachshela, because there can be great stumbling blocks in this. Shapirov Eis Erev, because often, right before nightfall, Maisa HaSatan, the devil's deeds, go rain, Shavolikos cause people to flood the stores. So it is himself a great deal in order to close the store at that time. Shabbos Kodesh Mishalemes Laziyambos. Clear that the Holy Sabbath pays back those who are meticulous about it. One should do the tefillos of Kabbalah Shabbos and Mar during the daytime, which the Hasidim have a great opposition to actually being Kabbalah Shabbos early from Plag HaMincha. I don't know why, because the poskim have suggested that's a good idea. Don't wait for a chashuv person to come to shul. Just start. And this is a great merit to start Shabbos early. As a result of our great iniquities, people tarry very much to daven. Oh, there it is. They think it's a mitzvah, mar b'zmano. Woe to such a mitzvah. It is checked checked, and we have the experience. So they came that in this manner, Shabbos, people come to desecrate the Shabbos, robbing Manchurian, many people in the city. The Klarachim was spoken at this great length. Praiseworthy is a person who does this. These amates to make the effort. She's following Ma'ariv Yom to daven Ma'ariv early. Then Kates, there is no end. L'schara for his reward. The Shabbos Tamli Torah, and Shabbos will be a lawyer for the defense for him in Shomayim. Reish Nun Zayin Dinei Hatmana. Okay. Inyan Hatmana, who the concept insulating is after they heated up and kept the pots on the ovens to not look there, they took the pot from there. They insulated things which added heat to strengthen their heat. Oh, but there are other things they could insulate them in things which are animals that don't add heat. They just maintain heat. Why do people do this? Normally people do Hadmana, even though it was managed that we would leave it in a black or a crock pot, but then they primarily did Hadmana for the next day. Because they're afraid they leave it on the oven all night. Tiskarer, it's going to cool down. Because it's open, not covered. They take it from them and they insulate it to retain its heat. Most of the time, you might meet him, but as much as they did this during the time between Shkia and Seis on Erev Shabbos. Now, like it says, if we're in doubt if it is dark or night, which is twilight, one thing we have to do is put the hot dish for tomorrow in an insulator. Base, also Chachamim Magmin b'Shabbos Atzmo Filu Davar Shein Moshe Bemo. Chachamim only has to insulate stuff from before Shabbos, not on Shabbos itself, even something which does not make it warmer. Raki Ben Hashmosh is the Tuk Moshe Gosabnu. Milk and twilight. The Davar Moshe Pavel, something which adds heat. Also, I mean, I feel about Yom can't even heat do insulate in such a substance from before Shabbos begins. The time Isuhu, the reason for this prohibition is B'davar she'enu mosif hevel b'Shabbos, something which doesn't add heat. It's also on Shabbos. Av she'enu oseh klumim, they're not really doing anything. She'enu l'kmam minachom koshi, it's just sustain the heat as it was. Mishum l'chashish because we're afraid if we allow you to do hatmana on Shabbos, we're afraid that you're going to find a way to boil it up. To cook meaning when you want to make this insulation, you took the let's say you find the pot is cooled up, and heat it up first. And some of Shabbos will come out. It's cooking on Shabbos. It's interesting. I'm not sure whether it's the Chiddush, but the Prima Garden up in Mishmur says even if they have Mona before noon on Erev Shabbos, nevertheless, it's one of the primitive forms. It's still prohibited. No difference between forenoon and afternoon. But as it goes on, the Roshon goes on to say, during twilight, it's not a problem. Why is that? Because most pots during twilight are boiling. Really, says the Roshon, it seems to me we're not concerned that we were actually, if you let you do a mana at Shabbos, you're actually going to come to cook mamish. We're only afraid you're going to rake coals, which can be done in a moment. Some which needs prep time. Lo gazrina is not included in the prohibition. Just like we don't make the decree with an oven which is sealed. Then we're not concerned that perhaps the person will remove the seal and rake the coals. Rather, the issue here is that also we're afraid you're going to rake the coals until you make the pot boil. Because you're taking the pot out of the oven. Okay, when these barbers in Mishnah Gimel says the basar chay mutar shosafil b'tanur. Raw meat you're allowed to leave even in a pyramidical oven right before Shabbos. Because it's for tomorrow. We're not concerned you might come to rake the coals. Because till tomorrow it'll be cooked on its own. So why by Hakmana, which is also for tomorrow, why are they more severe? On the Beard Vayim he says, Arukh HaShulchan seems to me the Kano, this is the Pshat. That which you don't not doing Hakmana for tomorrow, but rather leaving something on the double or single oven. Because he knows they were stoked well. And the fire is strong. So they cold in the morning. Even the pot is uncovered. In other words, it has not any insulation. Can answer chito, so it doesn't require any raking the coals. But this person removes it from the oven, puts it into hakmona, into insulation. He knows he's doing it because he knows the fire on the stove is not strong. It's not strong. If you leave it on the stove, until tomorrow, it's going to get cold. Unless he wants to insulate it. Therefore, they were legitimately concerned. When he comes to do the insulation, he's going to see that it's a little bit cold. He's going to boil it up. So you're going to rake the coals all around it. Those who with a few which are still hot. Therefore it's cooking. Therefore they forbade And it may make a distinction in the Gezerah ben Mishmatmin Balayla Tzarech Machar, whether you do Atmana at night for the next day, or Shemachar Min, or Atmana in the morning. The Lopu Rabban didn't make a distinction. But also, Latmin B'Shabbos B'Atzmo, B'Shul Davar. Shabbos I'm not allowed to do Atmana with anything. Afilu B'Masha and Mosif Hevel, even something which is not added. Dalit, with Dover and Mosif Hevel, there's something which does eat. Also, that mean afilu mibad yom can't do one of that even from before Shabbos begins. Time because we're afraid because we know Shema I mean beremetz. Sheish b'chelutz. You might do admona in like the ashes left after a fire where there's a coal left there. I mean, if I'm moving this is ashes mixed with coals. Shagam zel mosif hevel, which also adds heat. With zevadai yesh l'chush shemechat bechom. In this case, it's earlier. She could certainly might come to rake the coals. It's not like a decree on a decree. The kul chad gzeira. It's all one gzeira. Shemechat bechom. Va'avagav di'lamocher, even though it's for the next day. We come chashin. We're afraid Shema yochush that the guy will be concerned. She'titztani alamocher that the scenario will become cold till the next day. It's not like leaving it on the stove for tomorrow. Where the heat is much be rational. Mashkei by the it's remnants, opposed to putting and putting stuff in this ash coal mixture. The kozos ain bo chamimus hakira. The stuff doesn't have the heat of even the double oven. I saw Rabbi Eitzim where much wood is used. Kanika for here, most of the stuff is already ashes. About Gechomati and there's little coal. Yesh Lachush, it's time we were concerned that might cool down and it's going to come to rake the coals. So long Hagar here, a long brackets. Varif Aramam Gorsim Beino Mosif Hevel, Shemiat Min Beremetz. You shouldn't put it even in something which is not Mosif Hevel because then you might come to use the ash and the ash coal mixture. Mosif Hevel Shemeretiach. That's the reason they give because of in the case of why it's also but in a Mosif Hevel it's also because you might come to boil the pot. Rambam Mosif Hevel also mibad yom. Rambam it's also when you if it's heat is added from before Shabbos begins. Mutzah ben hashmoshos k'mosh kasa be'perek dalet. He allows it ben hashmoshos to over on Mosif Hevel. But Kulam Tama was astonished at this. So my Rif and said there's no compelling reason to say that that's the Rif learned. Because I'm arrived at Kushia al Eina Mosif Hevel Loma Mutzah ben hashmoshos. Because the question is why in the Gemara it's why Eina Mosif Hevel is Mutzah ben hashmoshos. Mosif Hevel would be for Shteitz Chaser. Vina Eina Kina Ben Agirsos. According to Halacha, there's no the difference between the Gersos Royal Poskim. He's Kimel Gersos Rashi. L'chein Pirash Lukein. We went with Rashi over here that Eina Mosif Hevel is always awesome. Shami Yishtam Achra Mosif Hevel. Shami is another reason not to be matmin in something which is Mosif Hevel. V'shalocha b'Shabbos Masir because you're going to take it from out on Shabbos unless your pot get too hot and then put it back. Ki chasen needs tanein. And when you take it out, I guess you tell it to take it a trun pot, not about the fire. When you take it out, it's tiny, it comes cold. When you put it back, it's hot. The habi can when it's like cooking, and therefore it's also ayin sham v'tuk.